DeWar, Alicia Beckholt, Aaron Kaut. Sorry, something just jumped up on the screen. I have to scroll. John Hart, Martin Kidston, MCAT, Melissa Fisher, Michael Grimmett, Randy Arnold. Computer, be nice. And in 206, we have Commissioner Vero and Commissioner Slotnick, Chris Lounsbury, Annie Cathy, Maddie Scott, Erica Grande, Michelle Denman, and Griffin Smith.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda? See none? We move to the consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be pulled out or discussed separately?
I think this is a quick and easy. Let's move past the consent agenda.
Second, any further discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
On to action items. First one is Karen. Or
I'm not sure if Randy is covering. If
Randy?
not, I can pitch it.
Or Chris.
So Karen gets here. So I can pitch it really, commissioners. So this is just updating the interlocal agreement. As you know, during the last legislative session, there was an update to the Montana Land Use and Planning Act that requires the city of Missoula as an urban city to move to a new methodology for planning, which requires them to update their growth policy, their zoning. And as part of that, they will go through the process of creating their own zoning and land use committee. And right now we we currently share a land use planning and zoning committee between the city and the county. Oh, and there's Karen. So I'm going to stop talking so that she can talk.
Consolidated City County Planning Board.
Oh, you're still muted, Karen.
Apologies.
No worries. I was just saying that this is related to our joint land use planning board, I believe.
Right. So this is the Consolidated Planning Board, and because the city is required to follow Senate Bill 382 to do their new land under the new land use planning regime under state law, they're required to have a planning commission designated as part of that. I've talked with you a little bit about the fact that they plan to transition to a municipal only planning commission once they've followed all the requirements of Senate Bill 382 for getting their plan and their zoning and other elements adopted. However, in the interim, they would like to designate the Consolidated Planning Board as the planning commission for that work. So they'll be reviewing their land use plan and the future zoning code that they bring forward as part of our Missoula project. So the change to the interlocal is simply to add a section that designates the planning board as a planning commission to follow the requirements of Senate Bill 382, and then also acknowledges that once they finish that work, that they'll transition to a municipal only planning commission. So that's it.
Then do we have to do a county only commission?
Yep.
And what's our timeline for that, or?
Yeah, we're working together. I'm working with the city staff to make sure that no one gets left high and dry with so we'll work on a plan to follow the same timeline they're following, which they're hoping to have everything in place and make the shift late spring of next year. So in the fall, we'll be bringing forward some proposals for you to consider for what we need in terms of planning board for the county.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I would request board approve sign via Adobe DocuSign the amended interlocal.
Second, any further discussion? Okay.
Does this one all make sense? It's kind of a big shift.
Yeah, I've covered it already.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Transportation Board, Maddie.
Hi. So this is for a partial term that's open through December 31st of 2025. We had two applicants, Lisa Shepard and Eva Roque.
Strong applicant.
Yes. And
This interview.
Also, very, very good.
Yeah, so it's a request board appoint new member to fill the remainder of the vacant term. Talking to Jennifer, they thought that Lisa had a lot to bring to the table and that they would recommend for at the moment. And whoever we don't, the city now has a spot open as well.
Oh,
Good.
perfect.
So,
Yeah, and
Just-
Lisa in a
just
past
whoever-
life was, she,
yeah, we would just suggest whoever go to the city and also apply there to hopefully get them on there.
okay. I was, sorry, what were you gonna say? Oh, okay.
But yes, the MUTD would suggest putting Lisa on there as right now.
So when, for the city one, would, let's say if we did Lisa, would Eva have to reapply or could she use
I
the
think
same
so. I would-
materials and just, should we just?
I
slide it
c-
over?
I think she'd have to apply through them. I'm not sure on what their process is
They have
specifically.
their own-
software, so they have their.
Yes. But I could give.
It's a bummer with such a qualified person who came so highly recommended, but there's only,
Mhm.
there's two people in only one spot, that we would make the highly qualified, highly recommended person jump through more hoops.
She's very talented. She can jump through hoops.
She was one of my students years ago.
Oh. And Lisa in a past life, like this is her, she was transportation, so
Mhm.
it makes sense to me.
All right, I would move we put Lisa on this board. And in our note to Eva, can we write a much more robust note than,
Yeah.
sorry, fill in the name blank, you didn't make the cut?
Yeah,
And I mean, and ask her to apply.
Encourage her strongly. The city has an open spot. I wish that our software were the same, so you wouldn't have to, but it's a bummer, but please do. And
yes, of course.
yeah, thanks a lot.
Second, any further discussion,
Public comment?
public
Good job.
comment? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Clinton Rural Fire District.
Yes, we had one applicant.
This is easier.
And there's one partial term open through May 31st of 2025. And then from there, he would go through election process if he would like to continue. But yeah, his name was Tom Zaleski.
Yeah, I remember meeting.
Great.
Yeah. we put Tom.
Second, any further discussion or public comment? Tom Selesky. Clinton's lucky to have him.
Yeah.
As their chair did tell him, he was the one told him that the position was open and everything too. So
Yeah. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Correspondence? Any
OEM update.
OEM update.
Yes. So Adrian's not able to join us today, so I'll give you guys a quick rundown of where we are for the storm. I was at their 9 o'clock planning meeting this morning. So as you can imagine, right now we're shifting largely into the debris management space. And so the city continues to open and close debris sites as quickly as they can get them filled and emptied. And there are updated materials and a map available on the website.
Which
related to
website?
that. So it is missoulacounty.co/storm. So, which is the short link to get folks directly to the website about this particular event. Missoula United Way has set up their volunteer management. So that site allows people to put in requests if they need assistance related to the storm, be it debris removal or other things. And then it matches people who are signing up as volunteers with that. So far, we've only had 2 requests into that site, but they've got 6 volunteers headed out to help those 2 individuals, so which is great, but they would encourage folks to do that, and that's Missoula, I'm gonna get this wrong, volunteermissoula.org, or missoulavolunteer.org. I will double check when the update
United
happens
Way.
that we put it in the right way, but it is run by the United Way of Missoula County, which is great that they're partnering with us. The incident management team, the Southwest Incident Management Team, which is the team that Missoula County hosts, it's made up of rural fire, city fire, outlying fire agencies, sheriff's department, and Missoula County Office of Emergency Management is stood up and assisting with this incident as part of our response efforts there. So the team will continue their daily planning cycle, which means a 9 o'clock briefing for folks so that we can give you guys a 10 o'clock update here at admin. The water and ice distribution at Fort Missoula, today's the last full day that will be in operation. There are approximately 40 to 70 customers out in the Mullen-Kona area who will be without power through at least Wednesday, as MEC not only replaces poles, but has to replace all of the line. Running to that, MEC has had contact with those individuals, and the team is going to attempt contact with those individuals today to see if they need water and other resources in the interim until they're back up on Wednesday. We are largely down at this point to there being just pockets of outages. So, you know, that particular area, there are a few homes still in the South Hills. There are a few homes in other parts of Missoula County, but largely distribution wise, the network is back up and distributing power. So most people have had power restored at this point, but there are still pocket neighborhoods where there aren't. You may hear reports today of power going out in Clinton. That is not related to the previous storm, but is related to branches that came down with the rain that we're getting today. MEC and Northwestern will have them back up shortly, definitely today. So it won't be an extended outage, but unfortunately, some of the restore work that they did was damaged.
Just in the Clinton area. So
It's a distribution line that runs to Clinton
Oh,
and provides power
okay.
to feed the distribution network in Clinton.
but we fared okay here.
So far,
Yeah.
this storm right now was originally predicted to have 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts with it. As you can see, again, knock on wood, so far those have not materialized, just the rain. They are still predicting a 1/4 of an inch of rain, which could be a problem for folks related to stormwater in the city, as storm drains are clogged primarily from leaves and other debris that's come down. So if people are having issues, they're encouraged to call the 258 info line or to call city streets so that folks can get out with back trucks and make sure that we get those unclogged as quickly as possible. That's kind of the general overview of where we are right now. We will continue to see debris management activities, through the weekend, probably into late next week with the team. And then at some point we'll ramp back down to, we'll still have debris removal, but it'll look a little more normal than it has right now because we'll hopefully have hit the bulk of it out of the way. So that's where we are this morning.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, you bet. And on the fire front, just for folks, Miller Peak fire, about a little over 50% contained, which is good news. Butler Creek fire, largely contained, weren't impacted by the wind event that did this, which was good news that it didn't drive any of that. And right now, at least so far, we're not seeing lightning in the Missoula Valley from this storm. So hopefully that continues here. The storm itself is slated to break in the early afternoon and then triple digits by late this week into the weekend. So we aren't.
And how are the fires south of us?
I apologize. I did not ask about south of us. So
Heard on the radio this morning, Lincoln, they're evacuating that area.
Lincoln's the big
Yeah,
one right now.
yeah,
Oh,
by Lincoln,
okay.
and they have a Red Cross Center right in mid-center of Lincoln for people to go to, but the outskirts have been evacuated.
Thank you. Okay. Who's doing the tech development or the budget enhancement?
let's have Erica start with hers, and I'll go see if Ken's available.
Thanks.
While Erica's talking about the wellness app for first responders.
Oh. I couldn't read. Thanks. I was like,
Okay.
where's that?
All right, so I'll start with just background on the Wellness Fund because it's not something we talk about overly often. So Wellness Fund, I'm not confident of the start date, but I believe we've had this fund for approximately 20 years. It's certainly been around since I've been with the county. And the way it's funded is a per employee per month payment. That's essentially part of the employee's benefits package, if that makes sense. So the county funds that into the specific wellness fund. And obviously the purpose is for employee well-being. I think there's been some dramatic shifts in kind of what that is. So when I took on the director position for risk and benefits, largely this fund was used to pay for our biometric screenings. So it starts with me screenings. We have shifted payment of those into the actual benefit claim side. So that comes out of the funding of our medical premiums. Since those are lab tests, we made that decision years ago that it just made sense to be paying for those out of claims. And so this fund now pays for the Virgin Pulse app that is available to all employees, supports the wellness fair, brings in some trainings, some countywide, some more specific to departments. The revenue for this amounts to approximately $70,000 annually going into this fund. Right now, there is a pretty healthy cash balance of about $150,000 in there. And in terms of expenses, that Virgin Pulse contract is right around $50,000 annually. So we've got a cushion, and I put that out there, and Michelle's sitting behind me. So as we look at what our first responders need, and when I say first responders, we're talking about certainly our sheriff's department, looping in 911 operators, and potentially county attorney's office and our crime victim advocate. So thinking about those individuals that are really on the front line of, being susceptible to secondary trauma just by nature of the type of work they're in. I'm not so sure that we're seeing more of it. I think people are sharing their what they're experiencing more. There is more comfort in asking for help when you need it. And so while we do have Virgin Pulse as the wellness, wellness app, which is more focused on, physical health, mental well-being, just on a day-to-day basis, it certainly is not a trauma response tool. We also have our employee assistance program through Uprise. That is more in line with kind of that trauma response, but Uprise is really meant for any employer. And so having a more targeted tool for first responders, that group of individuals we're talking about, is really what we're asking for authority here to start exploring what that might look like. Certainly, this is not something that Whitney Meek, our wellness coordinator, and I will be doing in a silo. This takes input from those employees in those departments. And so, we're asking, I think what I did say this is ongoing because it is. And so I believe that's why I'm sitting here. What I would recommend is that if this is approved, that we do use our cash resources to see where we get, work with finance to really look at this fund to see if we need to increase dollars next year for that employee wellness fee. But I think we might be able to extend out a few years before we really have to ramp up that fee, if that makes sense. So I think we're in a good spot, hopefully, for you all to see the value in this in terms of looking at getting something in place. I would think the first part of the calendar year or by, early spring of the calendar year to have something up and running. So it would be a partial contract for this fiscal year going into a full contract starting FY26. I do want to share anecdotally, just because I had the chance, I'm sitting here with a little bit of time. It's not surprising, but I hear things more from the deputies side of things. We have weeks where we have deputies who experience very, very traumatic events kind of back to back. And a lot of times, these individuals, and I'm sure it happens in the 911 center and with crime victim advocates and prosecutors, but a lot of times these individuals, while their supervisors are certainly asking them if they're okay to be out there, if they're okay to return to work, they're saying yes. And then it will be like weeks or months later that they're like, you know what? No, I'm not okay. And the real challenging thing is that unlike a physical injury where we have a system that makes sure employees who are injured in the course of their work are taken care of and get the care that they need and also get a paycheck, even if it's a partial paycheck under the work comp system, it ensures that these people are returned to what we say maximum medical improvement because they're treated, from their injuries, they get to a place where they can hopefully return to doing the jobs that they want to be doing. Our work comp system is not structured to pay for mental health injuries in the state of Montana. The sheriff and I actually are working together to hopefully put together a proposal for MSPOA to take to the legislature for these very specific traumatic mental health injuries, so that they would be covered under work comp, because it's just really challenging, and we have a lot of really hard conversations about, gosh, like that's not covered under work comp, and gosh, like if you're taking leave, what do we do for that leave period? Do you have to use your sick leave? Do you have to use like your earned time, or are we going to authorize some paid administrative leave for those time periods? It's very uncomfortable. And any supervisor who has had someone in the work comp side of things is able to work with that employee and just ask them how they're doing, but not have to navigate these difficult conversations of like, oh, okay, you need more pay leave. In the work comp side, it's just taken care of by the work comp coordinator. There is less like feeling of intrusion into the employee's like medical care, where when you're working with these mental health injuries, I think it's just HR and the supervisor have to be a little bit more involved, and really, frankly, shouldn't be. And there should just be a system to ensure these people are getting care that's covered, just like a physical injury, particularly when it can certainly be pointed to a workplace event. And there are states that have this, this in place. So this is not the sheriff and I doing anything brand new, but it will be.
What's the state that you look to for?
Right. I mean,
a good
Colorado has a
example.
pretty good example. California is a lot more broad and covers a lot more employees. I think knowing our legislature, starting with law enforcement feels pretty good. I will share that I think it'll be interesting to see if MSPOA decides to take this to see MSPOA versus insurance companies. Will be a very fascinating thing for legislators to have to wrestle with. And I look forward to watching it happen. But it's also exciting, since our work comp program is what it is, that as the employer, we can be alongside this, talking about, number one, how this helps our employees, but then also as a work comp fund, like this doesn't cause me any concern from that fiduciary perspective. Mental health visits are not expensive. This is the sort of treatment that, it's the right thing to do. It's generally pretty effective and gets people back doing what they enjoy doing. But sorry, it's a little tangent, but I think just so you know, we are trying to target this in multiple ways. But this app, really, there are lots of versions out there. And I think some of the great things about it are the resources are generally clinicians that have experience with this sort of secondary trauma experience by law enforcement. So, and I think there's oftentimes a lot of distrust of just a general mental health professional from law enforcement, like feeling like maybe they don't really understand what they've been through. And so there's definitely a desire to make sure whoever they're reaching on the phone is someone who understands their line of work, and maybe is even someone who was in that line of work.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And this tool hopefully also will have some resources for spouses and families, because that's also a piece that's
So
like
important.
really critical.
Those folks are carrying the load. Sure.
Totally. So that's the ask. We've put in $35,000 for this year. Depending on what we come up with, I wouldn't be necessarily surprised if I'm not back here next year saying, this is what we have and this is what we need ongoing.
Results and know what happened.
Yeah, I hope so. Hopefully we'll know what happened in the legislature too. Yeah.
I like that. It's way versus the insurance industry.
I might enjoy it too, Josh.
Popcorn?
Good problem.
I've talked about this as well.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay, tech development software licenses.
You can understand anything you're about to say.
Yes, I'm gonna give you some words. The words are gonna be short.
Learning vocabulary.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to use layman's terms, I guess, layperson's terms. Okay, so I've got two small things on the agenda here. They kind of all split out a little bit more than just two. So I'm going to talk a little bit first about the dev software request, the subscriptions. So this one is, if I recall correctly, about $2,200 a year ongoing, and it encompasses several things for my development unit and my application administration unit. And that covers some training, some high-level technical training from a company called Pluralsight, and they do yearly user-based licensing, and we've used them in the past. They have a lot of really good content, and I think for, if I remember correctly, $600 per person per year. You know, assuming we can use it, which we've been pretty good about using our Pluralsight subscriptions in the past, it gives unlimited access to their entire content database, which is staggeringly large. So it's going to help. Really, the idea is we have very limited programming resources today, and we are starting to fall behind because we just have so little time to devote to training. And sending people off-site has been woefully inadequate, just because it's not enough time, and it's not it doesn't address the point solution in during an immediate need. So so we're going to try and address that with online training, just for very specific subjects, and that's going to help us support some of these big initiatives we've been pushing through lately, like the new ERP and our data goals, our data analysis goals, and making sure that we can adequately leverage some of the tools. And the dev staff in particular is really critical to making sure that all these new tools come together and that we can do the cool things that we want
So
to.
it's $2,200 for real training.
It's $1,200
Okay.
for real online training. And some of it is instructor led even. So it's really impressive. I suppose it's scale, economies of scale, right?
Yeah.
You know, they can train hundreds of people simultaneously, even instructor led. So, and I think, you know, from the perspective, one of the things I was kind of thinking about when I was judging whether or not this was a valid request that one of my managers surfaced for me was we have some training online already through a company called SkillSets Online, but it is mostly focused towards the IT side of the shop, not the software, the development side of the shop. So it's broadly more useful to the other side of the office. And also something just kind of interesting is we're licensed countywide. So anybody in the county can take that, which is really cool, but it doesn't focus on the needs for the software development, the software side of the house. So that I think fills a good gap, and it's dirt cheap. And I feel like it is a midterm kind of solution. I don't think this is ongoing forever. This is ongoing for a few years. So now we'll get into things, or actually, no, we'll go to the more difficult to explain thing, which is Figma. That's another small slice. We're looking for 2 licenses of that, which amount to about $400. Figma, yeah. And it's like if you imagine Publisher, it's for doing design. It's specifically for doing website design. It's for templating out websites and building out structure, not just websites, but our specific use is going to be around building out websites. And it's not for actually making the website, it's for wireframing and designing and managing the website development process, not specifically for launching a website. So as you might be aware, right, we're launching a new website in the hopefully not too distant future. And this is a tool that currently one of my staff is just paying out of her pocket to utilize because she likes it so much that she'd rather pay for it than not. Not use it rather. So great tool. This would give us the ability to obviously take that off of her shoulders, which she shouldn't be doing, and also give us a little bit of expansion to give that to one other staff member. So it's not just Linda who's doing this. So pretty straightforward. The next, sorry, $400 per year for 2 licenses. Next one is ReSharper. This is the complicated one. So this is a tool specifically around coding. It's around software development efficiency. And ReSharper is what we call a refactoring tool, and it allows us to do really mundane bulk things really quickly as opposed to manually typing it in. Yeah. And it's just like if you imagine all the code, it will go through and I'm going to use the term again, refactor that based on some parameters, and it helps you maintain structure and consistency in the code. And that's all very time consuming, and we're looking for every little bit we can to improve the efficiency of our developers, three of them. So that's $700. That's I think that is also 2 licenses per year. So those are the tools the app dev side of the tech house is looking.
Does this help prevent a crowdsource issue?
CrowdStrike.
CrowdStrike,
Excuse me, yes.
Actually, believe it or not, the ReSharper thing is that
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's taking care of mundane tasks that humans oftentimes overlook because
They're humans.
yeah, we're just bad. Yeah, we're bad sacks of meat. So
That's another good quote for them. Bad sex.
Sacks of meat.
yeah. So all kind of in that same ballpark of just kind of investing in our resources and making them more efficient. So that's all pretty easy. Any questions? Any other questions about those ones? Last one is our DIAX training, and I think
What's DIAX stand for again?
it's Denver International Airport Control System.
Oh,
The engine.
oh, wow. The key thing or whatever. Yeah.
And believe it or not, we still run it. And
there's one person somewhere that knows it.
He's like 95 years
Couple
old.
years ago.
Well, there's the gentleman who wrote it, and then there's Bob Sheeter.
So we obviously over the years have leaned on Bob heavily to maintain the system. And it used to be the access control system that the entire county was run on. We've since begun our migration from DIAX to the Delta control system, which is supported by a vendor company. So, and it is a well-known quantity. It's not something that will, is it Merv?
Merv's the guy who wrote it. Yep.
Yeah, if Merv ostensibly when Merv dies, and Bob, here we are. So it's not a system that we have a linchpin of 2 relatively
Some
elderly gentlemen.
vulnerabilities there.
Yeah, we have some vulnerabilities. And anyway, we're on the right path there, but DIAX still runs the jail as I think the
Just the most complicated system we have.
Are we switching that over time?
that's a great question. That's not something that
Too big.
No, it will eventually migrate, but the plan has always been to get the rest of the county off first because the jail, due to its intricacies, really has to be done, for lack of a better term, as one independent project. We've targeted replacing the county where, again, if a door card fails for some reason and people can't get into the courthouse for 15 minutes until somebody gets there with the key, it's an inconvenience. If the jail is operating entirely on the key-based system, which they do when there's an outage, because it's not that we've never had an outage, but if when they are, that is a major inconvenience for them as far as moving inmates, being able to accommodate the courts, visitation, all of those things. And so we purposely separated those 2 projects intentionally. So we are not at the point where we are discussing what will happen at the jail. We're going to migrate the county, and then we will address the jail.
So it's a big important thing, and some of my staff supports and maintains that system. And at this stage, really, some of my staff means one person for the most part. So again, we have that single point of failure. Hauser and I had discussed earlier last year about bringing some of the DIAX resources on site to perform a big group training to get multiple members of both of our staffs up to speed on maintaining and continuing to.
You could add 2 people, it'd be a 100% increase.
Really easy. Yeah, I love the efficiency gains for so little, right? And so the beauty of that is this is $5,000. It's $10,000 opportunity between facilities and tech that we're splitting in half, and we can put as many people in that class
Oh, that's great.
effectively as we want. So it's going to help
That'd
us.
be a really good investment if Bob or Merv are out that day.
Yeah. Right. Or, you know, they want to go on vacation. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, this is a really good option for us, and it just makes a lot of sense from an efficiency standpoint. So, yeah. Any other question about
No,
that?
those are great. It's like big gains for the small dollar investments.
Yeah, great. All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Good
you.
explaining.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you. I hope I didn't overuse any large,
No.
technical terms that.
There'll be a test later on what Figma was, though.
Figma,
I will film that, just so we all know, I will film that
I was
all.
like, you didn't give us the acronym for it.
Figma's a product name.
It's just the name.
Yep, just a name.
Just the name.
Yeah.
I got that. See, I got that.
Yeah.
I did not get that. I was waiting.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah.
Upcoming events, invitations.
Just as an FYI, we have been notified that the governor may visit Missoula on Thursday related to the storm event. We have literally no details yet from his office, but
All right.
so I don't have any more than that, but he may be here on Thursday.
We don't know what you would like to look at.
We have no information whatsoever, other than maybe on Thursday. Maybe. It is only a maybe at this point. It is a maybe on Thursday.
You might be able to get more info.
We have let the state DES office, which is attempting to coordinate it, know that we need to know by the end of the day today, like what, when, and where, if at all possible, so that we can plan for that, because of course Thursday is also your budget hearing. And so we can't actually we can't postpone that. It's,
You can show them some good clogged drains and
Oh, the debris piles.
And debris
Those are
piles.
problematic.
and no place for debris piles.
And there's still like trees stuck into houses that are private trees, private houses. Public's could take care of it.
Okay, we're done. We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Great idea. I mean, the combo of two